What happened was Joseph was 17 last time we picked up on the story. He was 17 and he was sold into slavery, wasn't he? He went down into Egypt as a slave, sold by his brothers for 20 shekels of silver. And if we had read last week, it said that Joseph was pleading for his life. He wasn't just sitting there in the bottom of the pit. He was pleading with his brothers to save him. Because that's what we would have read last week, that his brothers just ignored his cries. They had no mercy at all. They sold him into bondage. That's where we left off last time. So we went down to Egypt, but God was with him, it said. It said God was with Joseph and he was a prosperous man. So he became the chief of Potiphar's household, didn't he? The chief of Potiphar's household. But it said he was beautiful, Joseph, and of beautiful appearance, just like his mother Rachel. She was beautiful, wasn't she? Of beautiful form and beautiful appearance. And Joseph took after his mum, and he was beautiful as well. And Potiphar's wife fancied him. And it said, day by day, she was harassing him and trying to have a wicked way with him. And Joseph wasn't having any of it. He said, no, there's no way I'm going to sin against God and do this. And he wouldn't do it. So what did she do? She set him up, didn't she? And grabbed him by his garments. Them garments, because when he got sold into slavery, his brothers took his garments, dipped it in goat's blood, and pretended that he'd been killed. So garments are always biblically very important, aren't they? Garments, coverings, that's right. Ketonet it was, wasn't it? The word ketonet, which is the priestly garment, and he dipped it in blood, and Potiphar's wife stole his garments and used it as evidence to say, he's coming here to try and mock us, this Hebrew. And so the next thing, Joseph goes to Nick. He goes into Potiphar's prison, and it says, even there, God was with him and blessed him, and he became the ruler in Potiphar's prison. The next thing is, the baker and the butler turn up, didn't he? He had Pharaoh's wine sort of fella and the baker. They both ended up in prison, and they both had dreams, didn't they? They both had dreams, and Joseph interpreted them dreams, because he knows that, because Joseph had dreams, and he knows God can interpret dreams. So he interpreted the dreams of these two men, and they both came to pass, didn't they? The dream was that the butler, the wine man, was in 3 days, it was Pharaoh's birthday, 3 days, always 3 days is massive. And he said, and Pharaoh will lift up your head and he will restore you to your position. And sure enough, that's what happened. And the baker, Joseph said, your dream means that in 3 days you're going to stand before Pharaoh and you're going to have your head taken off your shoulders, mate. And it's very similar to Yeshua. Joseph's very similar to Yeshua, isn't he? Just the same as Joseph was in prison with 2 criminals, Yeshua was crucified with 2 criminals. And in the same way, one of those went free, didn't he? Because they said, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Yeshua said, this day I tell you, you'll be with me in paradise. So it's a similar story. One man lost his life, one man gained his life. And on the cross, one man gained eternal life. What a gospel that is. He was a criminal. He was going nowhere. He was about to die. In one of the Gospels, it says that both men were crying out and giving Yeshua abuse. One minute, both of them were. And then 1 minute, this fella has a change of heart and goes to his mate, you know what? We deserve this, mate. We deserve this. This man's innocent. He's done nothing wrong. That's how simple salvation is to me. You know, he got me through my hard times, that fella. I realised how merciful God was. He was my best mate, and he gave me confidence to approach God when I was in a bad state. Because he's merciful, God. Hallelujah. He's wonderful, you're right. And so Joseph had said to this butler, do us a favour, remember me to Pharaoh, will you? Have a word with Pharaoh and tell him about me, get me out of here. But the butler forgot all about him for 2 years. 2 years. And then he remembered Joseph when Pharaoh had dreams. Pharaoh had dreams, didn't he? about the cows, 7 lean cows ate the 7 healthy cows, and 7 healthy grains got eaten by these 7 famine grains, etc. And Pharaoh was troubled by his dreams, and he called all of the court together, and no one could help him. And then the butler went, "Oh, sorry about Pharaoh, I forgot to tell you, there's this Hebrew lad, and he can interpret dreams. He's in there." And so he got brought out of prison, didn't he? How old was he at that stage? 30. He went into Egypt when he was 17, and he came out of prison at the age of 30. 30. 13 years you've been through this now. So time's moving on. He comes out of prison, he interprets the dreams, and Pharaoh exalts him to the highest position in the land. This is not once upon a time. It sounds like once upon a time. This is real. This is really what happened to a real man called Joseph. Went to prison, and he came out of prison in one day, was exalted to the highest position in all of Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. So we're moving on quite quickly there. And then the dreams he had, Pharaoh, was prophesying 7 years of plenty, wasn't it? 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of drought. And so in that 7 years of plenty, Joseph stored up all the grain. He was a wise leader, and he stored up all the grain. And sure enough, just as God had shown him, the famine started. 7 years of famine. And that's where this story picks up now, because it's in the second year of the famine that this all takes place now. The second year of the famine, we'll find out. So just quickly, you can start to, what I mentioned last time, you were here, Josie, and I mentioned how old Jacob was. You can start to work it out now. Joseph was 30 when he came out of prison, 7 years of plenty, and then 2 years of famine. So when this is all taking place tonight, Joseph is 39 years old. And Jacob will be introduced again, and Jacob will turn up tonight. And how old will he be? He'll be 130. So we can deduce from that when Joseph was born, Jacob was about 90. And he'd been in Laban's house for about 20 years. So we know now, backtracking, that Jacob was 70. He was 70 when he entered Laban's household. 70. When he was standing before Isaac, pretending to be Esau, he was 70. And this is just mathematically, you can't argue with it. Joseph's 39 now, Jacob's 130. So you can see he was 90 when Joseph got born. So when Jacob was wrestling with the angel the other week, the man who was God, he was 90. He was 90. You can't argue with it. The maths are all there. He was 90. So that's where we're up to. And then what happened last week? So it was the second year of the famine, and they needed grain, didn't he? And Jacob said to the lads, "I have heard that there's grain in Egypt. Go down to Egypt." So the brothers all went down to Egypt, didn't he? And ended up they ended up bowing before Joseph, which is the dream that he had when he was 17. He had a dream, didn't he, that all the sheaves of corn were bowing down to his sheep. Well, here it is. All his brothers have come down from Egypt, and they're all bowing down before him. He must be going, "Wow, this is amazing. This is the dream I had." But they didn't recognise him. That's the message tonight. This is the message tonight, especially this season we're in now, or just come out of now. This is when Yeshua is going to reveal himself to his brothers once again. But he's disguised, isn't he? He looks like an Egyptian. He talks like an Egyptian. He lives in an Egyptian house. And for all intents and purposes, you would think this fella's an Egyptian. So his brothers don't recognise him. But Joseph recognises them. And he said, didn't he, have you got any more brothers? Have you got a father? And they said, "Yeah, we've got our father's old, and we've got a young brother there." We'll find out tonight, he's not as young as you think. I mean, if I just ask you how old was Benjamin, you're probably thinking about, I don't know, what would you say, 10, 8? So I don't know what your imaginations are. 35, that's a great guess. Where'd you get that from? That's just a guess.
Because if he was a few years younger than Joseph.
Great, that's a great way of looking at it. And when we read it tonight, Benjamin's got 10 kids. Benjamin's not some little thing. He's got 10 kids. He's not just some little lad. He's got 10 kids. We'll read about it tonight. 10 kids Benjamin's got. Wow. So just adjust the way you see in this story, you know, these are a lot older than you think they are. So he says basically, he accused them of being spies. I'm just trying to recap here before we get going. He accused them of being spies, and then he says, right, I'm going to keep hold of Simeon here. Simeon's staying here, and you go and get your younger brother, and if you bring him back, I'll know you're not spies, and have your brother, and I'll box you off, great, and it's happy days. So they all go home, but he plants the money in the sacks, doesn't he? He plants the money that they come to buy within their sacks, and when they get home, they realise what's happened, panic sets in, and all that. And then when the grain runs out, it's time to go and get more grain, but then they tell Yaakov, they say, we've got to take Benjamin with us. We can't go back. The fellas said, you will not see my face again unless your little brother's with you. And so they couldn't go back without taking Benjamin. And that's where we pick up tonight, really, because Yaakov, Jacob, was in a mess over this. He's like, there's no way you're taking Benjamin. He's the youngest son. He's, I've lost Joseph already. There's no way you're taking the only other son that was born to Rachel. No way. And then Judah steps in, doesn't he? Judah. And that's where we were last time. Judah was the one who came up with the idea, wasn't he? Let's sell him to the Midianites. Let's sell him into slavery. It was Judah's idea. And then we've seen after that, Judah's life went downhill because he ended up going to marry some woman, didn't he? And had 3 kids to her. And then 2 of them died. And then he ended up having an immoral relationship with his daughter-in-law. Judah's life had gone off the rails. But that brought about repentance in his life, didn't it? When he said, she, Tamar, has been more righteous than me. And it's sort of, I don't know, his life's going to start to come back to ascend again now. Because Judah said to Yaakov, look, I'll take the can for this. If I don't bring Benjamin back, let my life be ransom for him. I'll bear the blame forever. And Yeshua is of this tribe, isn't he? He is this lion of the tribe of Judah. So this story tonight is so... There would be no salvation without this. This is the royal family. The real royal family.
He's taking the responsibility upon himself.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, yeah.
Which is just what Yeshua is going to do. It's speaking of Yeshua. Yeah. This is that family line. Yeah. This line of Judah, it's off its head, isn't it? Yeah. We see it, the people, this Perez, how we got born. It's like, it's a mad, crazy family. But the message of the gospel is, God says all things around for those who are called.
Crazy family.
We are! I thought I was a mad family till I met these. And so that's where we're up to. That's where we're up to now. So Jacob said, okay, go down. They're all starving to death. You've got no way out of it. You've got to end. You've got to go to Egypt, but you've got to take Benjamin. So that's what happened. So last week, this is where we finished off last week, chapter 43. They all went to Egypt. They all appeared before Joseph, and Joseph, he was caught up over this. When he seen his little brother, he had to go away privately and got himself together. He come out and he sat them all, didn't he, in order of their birth. And they were all looking at each other going, what's going on here? How's this fella know this? It was amazing. And then one of the weirdest things, they all sat down to a meal, and Benjamin got 5 times more scram than anyone else. Imagine it. 5 teas. Oh, sorry. You're late. Five meals, you have 5 times more. You know this anyway. Benjamin got 5 times more than anyone else. And it's like Joseph's just trying to drop a hint, isn't it? Because they hated Joseph because he was so favoured, wasn't he? He had the favour of his father, and they despised him. So let's see how far you should come, boys. Can you deal with this, or are you going to start hating Benjamin now, the way you hated me? He was pouring, showering blessings on Benjamin. Anyway, they had a lovely meal, and it says they were all merry together, and he sent them packing. But he done a trick, didn't he? Joseph said, put this goblet, this whatever it was, cup, chalice, yeah, put it in the sack of Benjamin and send them on the way. And so he got off, and then Joseph sent his men after them, and they stopped them, and they collared them, and they said, why have you stolen from Joseph? You've stolen his cup. And they're like, there's no way. Why? We wouldn't have stolen his cup. We even brought the money back that was in our sacks from last time. We're honest men. Yeah, honest. Well, that's what they were saying, we're honest. They even said, if you find it, let the man die who's stolen this cup. Let him die. So Joseph's officers say, okay, and take him back, and they searched them all, starting with the oldest first, right down to the youngest, and lo and behold, Benjamin's got the cup, and Benjamin's getting nicked. That's what Joseph said. He said, look, yous can all be free. You don't have to all worry about this. Yous go home. It's happy days for yous. Yous are happy now, but Benjamin's staying. He is going to be my slave. So let's just pick the story up now. Chapter 44. And this portion is called Vayigash. Vayigash, and he drew near. Because it starts at verse 18. Verse 18. Then Yehuda, Judah. Does anyone know how we spell that, actually? Yehuda.
Why?
Huh?
Y-H-D-A.
Y-H Vav Dalet. Yod Hey Vav Dalet Hey. It's the name of Yahovah with the Dalet in the middle. It's with the door. Dalet means door. So Yehuda is Yahovah with the door in. He is the door to Yahovah, because that's Yeshua, isn't it? That's what he said last week. I am the door. I am the door. Yeshua is the door to Yah.
Enter his court with praise.
Yeah, he is the door to enter in. Yeah, and that's why his name's Yehudah. It comes from praise. So Yehudah, Judah came near, Vayigash came near to him and said, oh my Lord, please let your servant speak a word in my Lord's hearing, and do not let your anger burn against your servants, for you are even like Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servant, saying, have you a father or a brother? And we said to my Lord, we have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age who is young. Not that young, because he's got 10 kids. His brother is dead. This is now Joseph realising for the first time now, he didn't know what had gone on. He just knew he'd been lashed to the pit and got sold into slavery. He didn't know the plot that took place. He didn't know that they took his garment back to Jacob and said, he's being torn by wild beasts. So Joseph's hearing for the first time now. Do you want to put the heater on? Are you cold?
No, it's okay.
Okay, I think it's gone a bit cold.
Do you want?
It's up to you. So if you want to, if you want it on, I'm just saying. No? Okay, I'll just feel, okay. Yeah, it's got a bit. Just put one of them on. Yeah, alright, so that Judas,
so he didn't know that the brother told the horse.
thanks, yeah, Joseph didn't know what had been told to his dad. He doesn't know what's being said, and now he's hearing it for the first time that he's dead. It's like, his brother's dead. Joseph going on, what? But that's what they think. And he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. He loved Benjamin. Then you said to your servants, bring him down to me that I may set my eyes on him. And we said to my Lord, the lad can't leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. But you said to your servants, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you shall see my face no more. So it was, when we went up to your servant, my father, that we told him the words of my Lord, and our father said, go back and buy us a little food. But we said, we can't go down if our youngest brother's not with us. Then we will, if he's with us, we will go down, for we may not see the man's face, unless our youngest brother is with us. Then your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. Joseph, his heart must be tearing over him as he's hearing this, that his dad is broken-hearted, thinking he's dead. What a surprise is in store for Jacob. Verse 29, but if you take this one also from me, and calamity befalls him, you shall bring my grey hair down to the grave. Now therefore, when I come to your servant my father, and the lad is not with us, since his life is bound up in the lad's life, it will happen when he sees that the lad's not with us, that he will die. So your servants will bring down the grey hair of your servants, our father, with sorrow to the grave. For your servant, this is talking about himself, your servant Judah, I became surety for the lads of my father, saying, if I don't bring him back to you, then I shall bear the blame before my father forever. And Joseph seeing now, this character's changed. This is a different man than the man that sold me into slavery. This is a different man that was like, let's not kill him, let's profit out of him, let's make a few quid out of him. This man's changed now. Judah's been through some major things in his life. 2 of his sons have died because of not walking in the Torah. And he's a changed man now. See how different he is. He is willing to become a prisoner in Egypt to let Benjamin go free. And there'll be a strong bond forever between Judah and Benjamin, won't there? You'll see that in Samuel, when Jonathan loves David with all of his life, and he gives him all of his clothes and his weapons. He gives him his inheritance, really. And Jonathan's from the tribe of Benjamin, and David's from the tribe of Judah. So you can see how there's this bond between Judah and Benjamin, which originates from this scenario here. Judah is willing to lay his life down for Benjamin. Verse 33, now therefore, please, here's that word, please let your servant remain instead of the lad, as a slave to my Lord, and let the lad go up with his brothers. For how shall I go to my father if the lad is not with me? Lest perhaps I see the evil that will come upon my father. They love the dad, don't they? Judah loves his dad. He's seen how much he's already broken his heart once. He can't do it again. And that's restoration. This man's life is changed. Thank God for that. Thank God. Because I'd have wrote Judah off. I'd have wrote him off and gone, you know what, forget him. Get him out of here. Don't want nothing to do with him. But look how God's restored him. It's wonderful, you're right. Chapter 45. There's only like 2 small chapters, 3 chapters to do, so we get through this. Chapter 45. Then Joseph, he couldn't restrain himself any longer before all those who stood by him, and he cried out, make everyone go out from me. So no one stood with him, while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard it. It's so Messiah, this. And this family, we've seen it a few times. There's a lot of tears in this family, isn't there? When Jacob and Esau, there was a lot of tears then, wasn't there? There's a lot of tears in this family. And it all comes together in Hebrews chapter 5. I'll just read it in verse 6. It says, verse 7, talking about Yeshua. Hebrews chapter 5, verse 7. Who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with vehement cries and tears to him who was able to save him from death, and he was hid because of his godly fear. This is the life Yeshua had. He was a man of great tears, it says, and loud cries. This is the way we have to be, you know. This is the way we need to be. We need to not be all British and reserved. We need to bare our souls and cry out and get a bit involved with this. You know, let yourself get involved with it. Cry out. You know, yesterday was a horrible day when Britain, UK, voted against Israel, against America. We were together last night crying out. I felt my heart was broken over it. That's it. It's like with the Jews at Hanukkah. I feel my heart's breaking. And that's not me. That's me. I'm a Scouser. But it's like, this is my inner man. My new born again inner man is crying out here for what's going on. And that's how we need to be. Yeshua said this, blessed are those who mourn, you know. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall laugh. That you'll have laughing, because he will turn your mourning into joy. We read in the Psalms, didn't we, that wonderful song of ascent? He who sows in tears shall reap in joy. And whoever sows in tears will create seed for sowing and will produce a harvest. This is what we've got to be. We're living in a sick and twisted society. We really are. And so we need to cry out with all our hearts for a revival, really. You know, like Joe mentioned last night, Reese Howes, an intercessor, who brought revival because he cried out and prayed. But we can do that. Anyone can do that. Anyone here can get on the knees and cry out. So Father, please help us to be the people in this day that will cry out, that will weep and mourn for what's going on. Please grant repentance to this nation of ours. Please. Amen. Hungary done well again, Judith. You'd be pleased to know. Hungary abstained from the vote yesterday. You know, well done. Micronesia, they're great. Micronesia voted. And Togo were in there. And Palau, they were in there. And the Marshall Islands, you know, all these giants, they were all there. The rest of the world, just what it says in the Bible is, you know, this is Zechariah 12. We have entered this time frame. We're there, you know, we're there. We need to be bold, we need to wake up and be aware of the times we're in. So we wept aloud. And the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard it. You can imagine how loud he must have been. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. It reminds me this of Acts. There's a couple of times in Acts, but I love Acts 26 because that's when Paul's telling us for the third time of his conversion experience when he was on the road to Damascus and the great light flashed around him and he fell down and he said, Who are you, Lord? And Yeshua said in the Hebrew dialect, I am Yeshua, who you are persecuting. And this is the same. This is Joseph revealing himself. I am Joseph. It's a sign of what's to come. Yeshua is going to reveal himself again.
Hallelujah.
This is Zechariah 12. This is what I always share. This Zechariah 12 verse 10. God, I think it's going to be this simple, you know. Zechariah 12 verse 10 says, and it's the Creator speaking, I will pour out my spirit on the house of David, on the house of Judah and the house of Israel. It says, and then they will see me, who they pierced. It's like, God, that's simpler. If I and me are the same, you know, whoever said, no, if I am speaking and I say me, it's all about the same person. So in Zechariah 12 verse 10 when it says, I will pour out the Spirit and they will see me, who they pierced. That's basic grammar. That the one who's poured out the Spirit is the one who's pierced. That's easy. I think that's how simple it's going to be. When the veil gets removed, I think it's scriptures like that would just be indisputable. And that's the time we're coming into now. Yeshua is about to reveal himself. I am Yeshua.
So presumably up to this point, he's always spoken through a translator, hasn't he?
That's a good point, Justin, yeah.
At this point, presumably it's the first time he speaks to them in the native language.
That's probably correct.
In Hebrew?
Hebrew! Yeah! Amen. Because we're all Hebrews here. I am Joseph. Does my father still live? But his brothers couldn't answer it. Imagine it. Imagine it. It's been 22 years this now. It's 22 years after the event. He was 17. We've already established he's now 39. It's been 22 years. Some people talk about the time of Jacob's trouble. Some people say it's 7 years. I don't know why he would say that. Because Jacob said quite clearly the 7 years he had to spend for Rachel. So it was like a few days. So it went like a few days because he loved her so much. So I don't think that was Jacob's trouble. I think this is Jacob's trouble. The time that he was in mourning for his lost son. I would say that was the time of Jacob's trouble. 22 years.
No, I think probably they got a heart attack because surely they didn't tell the father the truth, no? So now they are like, oh me, the truth
Mom,
to
yeah.
turn out. Like, I think they asked him not to tell the father because he never kicked them out. Like, so probably he never found out that they saw him.
No, he thinks he's dead. He thinks he's dead. And they couldn't answer him. They couldn't answer him. For they were dismayed at his presence. They'd be thinking the worst, wouldn't you? You'd be thinking, oh, we've had it. We have had it. We're going to get bastard. What? Verse 4, and Joseph said to his brothers, please, and I know I emphasised that, but you know why now, don't you?
Yeah.
It was only in Genesis 22 for the first time this year. I could see it myself, because I just know the letters now, I can read a little bit of Hebrew. And when we see God said to Abraham, take your only son Isaac, there's a big word in there that didn't get translated into our Bibles, and it's the word please. God was saying, please take your son, your only son. And I realised at that moment, this is such a big word, this is a covenant word, please. I'm not saying I didn't have any manners, but it wasn't part of my prayer life, that word please. Now, I am like that all the time. Please, 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 because I know how covenantal it is.
Because God could demand, but he doesn't demand.
No, he didn't. He didn't command Abraham, I'm telling you right now, I'm the creator of the universe and I'll batter if you don't obey me. He went, please, you've got a choice in this age. You know, it's your son, it's your life, you can do what you want, but I am asking you, please. And this word kept on coming through the Torah. Now you keep seeing it, and every time I see it, I've got to underline it and go, there it is again. It's a covenant word. Joseph saying, please come near to me. And this is what Yeshua is saying. It's what he's saying to us, to all of us. It's what James chapter 4 verse 8 says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. All you've got to do is take that first step, isn't it? And draw near to him and come before him. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and do these biblical things, you know, in the morning, in the evening, at noon. Lift your hands and praise him and thank him. God, please, please come near me. So they came near. Then he said, I am Joseph, your brother, who you sold into Egypt. But now, you've got to take your ass off to these verses now. But now, do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. Say Israel, you know now, for these 2 years, the famine has been in the land. So you can see what I mean now, can't you? You've had 7 years of plenty. This is the 7th year of the famine. It's clear. It's 9 years after Joseph came out of prison. Joseph's 39. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither ploughing nor harvesting. And God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth. Wow. And to save your lives by a great deliverance. Amen. And if you check that in the Hebrew, it's more often used the word escape. To preserve for you a great escape. And I love that word. Because it's in Luke that Yeshua says in Luke 21, and he's given the end time discourse, and he's telling us what's going to happen. There's going to be famines and wars and earthquakes and all kinds. And then he says at the end, so therefore watch at all times and pray continually that you might be counted worthy to escape all these things. And that's just what it says. I'm not sure where I see that in. And when, and all of that, I really don't know. And the more I listen to people that say they know, the more I realise they don't know. And I really don't think anyone fully understands this. But there's definitely going to be a rapture. But Yeshua said for those who watch continually and pray at all times, there'll be an escape for them people. Yeah. For the Philadelphians, for those ones, they'll be taken out, it says, of the time of testing that's to come upon the whole earth. So I believe there is a great escape that God's prepared. I don't believe it's for everyone. I believe it's for wise virgins, and that's why we call this meeting Boi Kallah, because it's called Come Bride, let's get our bridal acts on. Let's get our bridal heads together and let's start crying out for the bridegroom to come and getting ready and being concerned about, have you got oil? Have you got oil? Have you got the oil? Yeah, are you praying? Are you excited about this? You're taking this real? Yeah, that's what we're here to do. To encourage each other to wake up and get ready. Because there's terrible, woeful times coming upon the whole earth. And we want to be those that are standing totally strong, knowing who our God is, and doing exploits, and instructing people in the ways of righteousness, and saying, don't worry about your life, don't take the mark of the beast, don't do these things, he's coming soon. We want to be that people, don't we? I want to be that people, and I know you do as well. A great deliverance, a great escape. Thank God for this, because if this family would have died, we wouldn't have had a Messiah. We wouldn't have had a nation of Israel. They would have all died in the family. And God knew this, and it literally is what it is. He was behind all this. He was behind Joseph being sold as a slave into Egypt. He was behind it. He was behind it. He gave the dreams that could be interpreted so that Joseph could come from the prison to become the prime minister or whatever. God was behind all this. It was God's plan to preserve life. This is so important. Yeah. Amen. The Torah. This is the Torah. This is the Torah. The Torah doesn't start with Moses at Sinai. That's part of it. The Torah is this. So God has sent him to preserve a great deliverance, verse 8. So now, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh. So I don't know if that just suggests to me that Pharaoh was only a young lad. Does that make sense to you? I just think that when I was reading it, I reckon Pharaoh was only a young lad. And Joseph's only 39. But I think he's older than Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's looking up to him. Maybe, just suggesting it.
And that's why he made him in charge of all that.
Yeah. God's behind it all. God's behind all this. And this Pharaoh's sound. He's sound, this Pharaoh. That's why Jacob will bless him, isn't it? Because it says in the Torah, whoever blesses you will be blessed. And so later on, in case you don't get there, Jacob stands before Pharaoh and blesses him because he's being blessed by Pharaoh. And it's like, well, if you bless me, I'll bless you. Sounds fair enough. Verse 8. So it wasn't you, it was God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, a lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Here's that phrase again. Hurry. We keep seeing it, don't we know, in the Torah all the time. Everyone's running around, making haste. No one's dragging their feet and, I'll do it tomorrow. It's like they're always in a rush because we need to be. We need to be redeeming the times right now because these days are evil. So we need to be making haste. We need to be still as well. But we need to be, hurrying about this now. Hurry. And go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all of Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me. Yeah, you and your children's children, and your flocks and your herds, and all that you have, there I will provide for you, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty, for there is still 5 years of famine. And behold, your eyes, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin. See, it's my mouth that speaks to you. You shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that you've seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. What a beautiful... This is what it's going to be like, for Israel soon. This is what it says, what we read from Zechariah 12. They will mourn, they will weep for one as one mourns for their only son. There's going to be great weeping in Israel and throughout the world when the eyes of the blind are opened again. We're coming into them times. We're there. It's great. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. because he's going to reveal himself again. Yeshua's being disguised as the really. You know, the Roman Catholic Church have dressed the Messiah up with some mad hat on that looks like a fish's mouth, and who celebrates a different calendar than the creator of the universe. And has even told us that, oh, the Torah's been nailed to the cross now, it's all done away with now. And you can't expect a Jew to accept that as the Messiah. That any Jew in the right mind should go, what? See you later. You know, that's not the Messiah. Anyone who's breaking the Torah and doesn't keep the feast of the Creator can't possibly be the Messiah. So he has been disguised. He's been dressed up as some Pope character. Well, that's not the Messiah. The Messiah keeps the feasts, and the Messiah loves the Torah.
Amen.
And anyone who loves the Messiah does, because you're a new creation with the Torah written on your heart now.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the Jews have not understood who the Messiah is. But, you know, that's why we do what we do. We want to proclaim the gospel in a way that a Jew can understand it and go, well, I'm going to pour out my spirit and they're going to look upon me and be pierced. That's the gospel. Go on.
Yeah, and what this is, because if Joseph being restored to the present, it is the picture of what's going to happen in the future when Jesus comes on the earth with a restored house of David and the house of Judah to give them covenants. It's beautiful.
Amen.
Yes.
Verse 16, now the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. So it pleased Pharaoh. Please silence Pharaoh. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and depart and go to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your household and come to me, and I'll give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded, do this, take carts out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives, bring your father and come. And do not be concerned about your goods. In other words, don't be bringing any of that Jewish gear here. Leave your shofars at home. Don't want any of them shofars. Don't be bringing them menorahs. Don't want any of that Jewish stuff. Leave all that stuff at home. For the best of all the lands of Egypt is yours. We'll see that gets ignored handily. Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them carts according to the commands of Pharaoh, and he gave them provisions for the journey. He gave to all of them, to each man, changes of garments. But to Benjamin, he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And I wish I knew what that was on about, but I haven't got a clue. I've tried to search it and I'm still praying, and I know one day I'll get the answer, because I always do when I ask for these things. But I don't know what that means. It's just the excessive abundance of blessing, isn't it? That Joseph is
There
given
might
to.
be something specific in the 5 then.
It's got to be, because he had 5 times as much food.
Yeah.
Now he's got 5 times as much clothes.
None of the garments that he got here, maybe.
Yeah, and if we did last week when this happened, we all tore the garments. So the brothers at least, they tore their garments. So yeah, you did get a replacement garments to go home. But Benjamin gets 5. And so, I mean, people saying that 5's the number of grace. 5's the number of the Torah as well, let's have it right. And the grace is the Torah.
Yeah, also, at the wedding, we're given garments as well, weren't they? What it means. So, like, given garments
Yeah.
must be
And 300 pieces of silver. It's like, you know, you sold me down here for 20 pieces of silver. Telling you got 2 silver pieces each. Yeah, Benjamin, have 300, mate. Do you know what I mean? Have 300.
We get new clothes when we redeemed it.
Yeah, garments always speak of salvation, and silver always speaks of redemption. So I'm just saying, I know there's a cracking thing in there, and I know we find everything this week. Verse 23, he sent them to his father these things, 10 donkeys loaded with the goods of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. He said to them, see that you don't become troubled along the way. In other words, don't be having murder now. Don't be blaming each other, going, it was you, and I said we shouldn't have done that. Like, forget about it now, lads. I've already told you, don't blame yourselves. This was all the hand of God.
Amen.
God done this.
Yes.
Don't be having murder now on the way home. Just go home in peace. Verse 25, then they went up to Egypt and came to the land of Canaan. to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph's still alive, and he is governor over all the lands of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still, because he didn't believe them. It doesn't mean he had a heart attack. It more just means his heart wasn't moved. He wasn't having it. He just didn't believe. So, yeah, but he just didn't believe it. It's not like he's just not having it. His heart was unmoved, it's saying really. Not like he had a heart attack. It's just he's unmoved because he doesn't believe it. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to him, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry them, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And what's happening here? The carts in Hebrew, it's a meaning in this. The carts is the word agalah, or agalot, the plural, and it's the word of a revolving wheel. That's where it gets its word from, because the wheels turn round. That's clear, isn't it? It's like Hebrew's a doing language, so that the wheels turn round, so we'll call that a turning wheel thing, or whatever. But what's this? The message behind this is Jacob now is putting this together. He remembers the dreams that Joseph had, because it said when Joseph had these dreams, Jacob treasured them in his heart. He kept these things in his heart. Now he's hearing these reports that Joseph's the king of Egypt, and he's heard the words which Joseph said, which is, don't blame yourselves, God was behind all this. Joseph's now seeing this, Jacob's now seeing this, going, wow, this is the plan of God, this. Because he will be fully aware now. You can forget the promises of God. You can forget the wonderful promises in his word, can't you, unless you meditate on it. But when these things come back to remembrance, your spirit revives. Because it was told here to Abraham, this is the way it's going to be, Abraham. Your seed, your family are going to be oppressed. They're going to be in a land that's not theirs. They're going to come into oppression and be in bondage, and this is going to last for 400 years. And so now Jacob is like putting it together, going, well, we're still in that 400 years, and we're not actually in a land that we own, because it says their testimony is that they were sojourners in the land. Abraham, Isaac and Jacob dwelt in tents. They knew the real promises were to come, and they didn't treasure this earth in their lifetimes. They were sojourners. And Jacob's knowing now, right, Joseph's gone down to Egypt. This is all a plan of God to preserve life. That's why his heart's reviving, his spirit's reviving, because he knows this is the will of God. All of the grief I've been through, this is all part of God's plan. And that is enough to revive anyone. Whatever you've been through in your life, you've got to remember what Romans 8:28 says, that God makes all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. My life was a disaster. You know, most of you know my testimony. My life was a disaster. And God worked it all together for good to get me back here, sitting here on a Shabbat, reading the Torah. A few years ago, couldn't even got the words out. And that's what's happening. His father's revived. And we said this a few weeks ago. You see this in the Torah. Sometimes Jacob's called Jacob. Other times he's called Israel. And now, because his spirit's revived, he goes back to his rightful name of Israel. Then Israel said, it's enough. Rab in Hebrew. Great. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. So verse chapter 46, Israel took his journey with all that he had. See, he didn't do what Pharaoh said, leave it all alone. He took all that he had. It's like, no, his shofar's coming as well. His shofar and my menorah and my tallit and everything. I'm taking it all. And he came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night. And that's a very end time term. It's a very, night time is always the end times. So visions of the night. It could have said a dream, but it says visions of the night. because it's always to point to the end of time what's going to happen. He spoke to him in the visions of the night and said, Yaakov, Yaakov. And he said, here I am. So he said, I am God, the Elohim of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. Wow. Because maybe Jacob was a bit fearful. Maybe he was a bit, oh God, we're starving to death here, and there's famine, but I don't want to leave the land unless you want me to. Isaac, my father, you told him to stay in the land in a time of famine. Remember, Abraham went to Egypt in a time of famine, but Isaac remained in the land in a time of famine. So maybe Jacob's a bit like, oh, I want to go, but is it alright? Are you going to be with me? Are you with me if I go? And God says to him, don't fear, I will make of you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt. God will go with you. I will go with you to Egypt, and I will surely bring you up again. Hallelujah. And Joseph will put his hands on your eyes. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones, and their wives in the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry them. So they took their livestock and their goods which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt, Jacob and all his descendants with him. His sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his descendants he brought with him to Egypt. And now it goes through the names, and we haven't got time. I'd like to have gone through all the names here, because as I was saying 2 weeks ago, know this family. I need it now. Know this family. I've been a Christian for 30 years, and a few years ago, I didn't know who married who. Didn't know who was who. I knew names, but I didn't know it. But this is our family. And we should be so acquainted with this family. We should know the names of everyone who was born, what order they were born in. And it's not to pass a test, it's to know your family. This is the royal family. This is spiritual. The Torah is spiritual. Paul says this in Romans 7, the Torah is spiritual. And then he says in Romans 8, the mind on the flesh is death, but the mind on the spirit is life and peace. And the mind on the spirit isn't imagining angels flying around and all spiritual, woo, anointing. That's not spiritual. The mind on the spirit is the mind that's on the Torah. This is the way we're told in Deuteronomy. Meditate on this all the time. When you get up in the morning, talk about this. When you're walking down the road, talk about it. When you're sitting in your house, talk about it. And when you go to bed at night, talk about it. This is the way you're meant to be, consumed with this narrative. And I'm not trying to be extreme, you know. I know how this works now. I know when I immerse myself in this, I'm just there. I'm just seated in heavenly places. I'm loving it. And when I'm not there, the mind on the flesh is death. The mind on the spirit is life and peace. Just meditating on this family, just getting to know this family, it's worth all the time that you put into it. So please.
Just a quick thing, when you were saying that last encounter we had, it just made me think that Jacob's strong encounters with God were in the night season, because he wrestled, didn't he? And he had that one before he went to Laban.
Yeah, because he's a very end-time character, Jacob, because God's going to gather the house of Jacob, isn't he? You know what I'm saying? It's very end times, this narrative. It's, you know, I mean, God, we are so privileged to be at this place now, to see what we're seeing. You know, what's happened this last 2 weeks with some, and even more than what some's done. The reaction of the world is still blowing me away. I still can't quite get my head around the whole world's reaction to this. It's breathtaking the way the world is reacting. Well, it's just what God said. And it's all about Jerusalem. Just the way he said it.
We shouldn't be surprised.
No, we shouldn't be surprised, Jeff. You're right, and that's what I'm trying to say. Let's sort of wake up now, and like the Joseph's brothers, imagine how they felt like, oh, heads are spinning everywhere. But at some point, we just got to get to grips and go, well, this is it. And we just are that generation now.
The word says, don't be surprised at these things as happening.
That's right. So I'd like to have gone through that, but we're not going to have a chance. So if you read that yourself, you'll see all the names of the family, get to know these names. Because these are now, it'll tell us at the end, but I can't miss out Benjamin's family. Because just to say what I was going back to before, he's not that young. Verse 21, chapter 46, verse 21. I'm not going to go on much longer tonight, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, because of the cake break. The sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, and here's our two favourites, Muppin and Hoppin. What a great family. Well, Benjamin's got 10 kids. When you add them up, he's got more than anyone else. He's the youngest in the family, and he's got more kids than anyone. He's got 10 kids. So he's not some little kid. He's not some young boy. He's a grown man. He's a grown man with 10 kids, and 2 of them are called Muppin and Hoppin. And then it goes through it, and then verse 26, all the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came through his body, besides Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2 persons, that's Manasseh and Ephraim, isn't it? All the persons of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70. 70. So you've got 12 tribes consisting of 70 people. So in a few weeks, when we get to something like Exodus chapter 18 or 19, whatever it is, we'll arrive at a place, won't we, called Elim. Elim. And when we get there, what's there? 12 wells and 70 palm trees. Yeah. It's like the creation is speaking out and saying to them on the wilderness journey, I'm with you, I'm with you. 12 families consisting of 70 people went down to Egypt, and when you come out of Egypt, there'll be a lovely place called Elim with 12 wells and 70 palm trees. Just so you know, I'm the creator of the universe, and I put these things in place to encourage you and to nourish you and to make you know I'm with you. And if you just know these things, all of this wilderness experience, what we're going to go through soon, was written for us. It says this. It was written. There's no point looking at them and go, oh, look at this thing. It's like, look at yourself and go, I'm meant to learn by this. Yeah. So that when our time of testing comes, we won't be like them going, oh, he's not with us. Oh, he hates us. Oh, he's going to brought us out here to kill us. We'll be standing strong. We are here for a time such as this. And we will just have the strength of God. I was saying to Kathy in the kitchen, we need to pray for this. You know, I'm a great believer in asking, because if you don't ask, you're taking it for granted. If you ask, you can take it as granted. If you ask according to his will, you have the things you ask. And it's his will that you are strong and courageous. But don't take it for granted and think you can just go, ask. And I've started asking a lot more for courage, because I know what's coming. I believe we are so close to the end now. I really do. Go for it, Vic. Great. Says, great. Thanks for mentioning that. I wanted to mention that before when I said Goshen. The name of this portion is Vayigash. 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 Drew near. And the word Goshen means drawing near. And this place, that's a great point, that, Vicky, because when we get to Exodus chapter 8 and chapter 9, when the plagues come, it's only in Goshen that the swarms don't affect the people, and it's only in Goshen that the darkness doesn't affect the people, isn't it? Goshen's the place of protection, and I don't know how it's going to work. I just know it's the end's coming, but I know there is this place of safety, at least in this world, a place of safety. I hope it's a rapture, don't get me wrong, but if it's just a place of safety, then we want to be in that place of safety. Yeah. We want to be in Goshen, and the place of Goshen. What? God is the place. God is the place. Yeah. Amen. So we've got to draw near to him through his word. You know what? Thank God for everyone here. It says, especially in the end days, do not forsake the gathering together with the brethren, especially as you see the day drawing near. And we'll be encouraged together. You know, we will. God's doing a great work for us. So let's have strength.
It's like 69
Yeah.
And then he says, there's Joseph.
Yeah.
Two kids.
Yeah.
His wife.
Aye.
She didn't go down, so there was an extra person.
Okay, well it says all the people that went down was 70, that's what it says, isn't it?
Wasn't 70.
Okay, well that's what it says.
Yes, no, we know that. Where did you get the 70 from?
It says 66.
66.
Joseph, his wife and his two sons.
And Jacob, he's the 70th or the first. And there's another level of that. I don't know, Nick mentioned this last time, a couple of times ago. What else does 12 and 70 remind you of? Well, Yeshua sent out the 12, and then he sent out the 70, didn't he? Because the 70 is the number of the nations, and God loves the nations, and God loves the world. He came for the whole world. So we've got two layers, 12 and 70 is Israel and the nations, because this family now, one of Simeon's kids is of Canaanite origin. Simeon has a Canaanite wife. So there's all kinds of mixed multitudes all in this family. But God loves this family, and this is our family. So we need to finish off now. Chapter 47, chapter 46 to 47. 5 minutes and then we'll finish off. We'll have to just wrap it up. So here's that Goshen again. Chapter verse 28. Then he sent Judah before him to Joseph to point out before him the way to Goshen. So thanks for mentioning that. And then they came to the land of Goshen. So Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. We can't miss this out. And he presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said to Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen your face, because you are still alive. Hallelujah, what a beautiful... Wow. Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh and say to him, my brothers and those of my father's house who are in the land of Canaan have come to me, and the men are shepherds, for their occupation has been to feed livestock, and they have brought their flocks, their herds, and all they have. He didn't leave it behind. So it shall be when Pharaoh calls you and says, what's your occupation? That you shall say, your servant's occupation has been with livestock from our youth, even till now. Both we and also our fathers, and that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. And this is because one of their chief gods was a ram. We'll see that when we get into the Exodus. They had one of their main gods was a ram. And so to be a shepherd to them was like, you can't do that. You can't be a shepherd of sheep. Because they worshipped or they had a sheep god. So they hated shepherds.
But it was to keep them separate.
Yeah.
Separate themselves.
Yeah, it was. God worked till all things are for good. They're getting the best land here. They're getting the best of the land. So we're going to just finish off. Chapter 47. Let's just see. It's just a bit of a repeat. Let's just crack down to verse 8. Pharaoh said to Jacob, so verse 7, Joseph brought in his father Jacob and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. You can see why now, can't you? Because Pharaoh definitely blessed them. He sent them all kinds of goods, brought them down to Egypt, gave them the best of the land. Pharaoh's been a blessing, and so it's only right and Torah consistent that Jacob should bless Pharaoh. He's blessed Israel, so Israel will bless him. Yeah, and so that's why he's doing it. He blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, how old are you? Because Jacob was 130 now, and probably had a beard down here, grey hair, grey beard. And these Egyptians, when you see them in the films, they're always shaved heads, aren't they? And makeup, and you know, and he's probably looking at this fella, looks like a mountain goat, going, how old are you? And this is where you find out. Jacob said to Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. So you can do the maths, can't you? Joseph's 39, Jacob's 130. You can see this now. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my father in the days of their pilgrimage. So Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph situated his father and his brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Then Joseph provided his father, his brother, brothers, and all his father's household with bread according to the number in their families. And we're going to have to just cut off now. It finishes at verse 26, and the rest of this chapter now is the details of the famine. How severe this famine became. That they ran out of, it says that they got to the stage when the money failed. There was no money. It was like you see in these times when people have got wheelbarrows of money, and I don't know if you've seen it on the news now in Venezuela, and people have got wads of money, and it's worth nothing. It's like monopoly money. It becomes worthless. And that's what happens here. The money fails in the land. And so, in the end, they ended up selling their livestock, and then they came and they said, look, we've got nothing left, we've got no money, we've got no livestock left, buy us, and they sold themselves into bondage, basically, because they had nothing. And this is where we're coming to now, you know. This is what's about to happen on a worldwide level. I wouldn't be surprised soon if the money failed. You know, and you'd be going to your cash points and they'd be laughing at you. They'll start laughing like one of them laughing machines where you put your cards in and go, I'll laugh at you. And, because it's about to fail. The economy's about to fail. The money's about to fail in the land. And then you'll be required, if you want to be able to continue to trade, and you want to be able to go and buy and sell, it'll be called, go and take the mark of the beast. And may nobody that we know, no one in our fellowship or proximity, go anywhere near that. I mean it, that's what's coming upon the earth, the mark of the beast. A system that's collapsed, and everyone having to go to these FEMA camps called Tesco or Aldi. They'll become FEMA camps, and you'll have to get in with your mark of the beast. You won't be able to trade. That's where we're coming to. And God will prepare a place called Goshen for those who want to draw near and those who don't want to bow the knee. And that's what these things are written for, so that we are not like Esau, ruled by our bellies, going, oh, sell the birthright for that bonus stew. This is why Torah told us these things, so that we'll be prepared for what's to come. And so you can read the rest of that chapter yourself. That's what happens. And it's sound.
You mentioned chapters 47 verse 2. Joseph took 5 men from his brothers to talk about
5 again, yeah. That's a good point. There's so much to bring out of this, and we only get a chance to skate through it. So sorry for going on a little bit, but we've got our peaks, you know what I'm saying?